However, Nathaniel will never forget the day her life was torn apart as Liberia's first civil war raged here in Foya, Lofa County. Rebel soldiers of the United Liberation Movement of Liberia, known as ULIMO, seized innocent civilians. 27 years later, Nathaniel cries as she recalls what happened to her husband Simon.
Asinato apemi bando binum na aje kwandi ochondo ba achoni nkona mako bi pono no uno ado mawondu jomdo na bofra na madimi akoya kori kola kweni na choya chenni na ko mama ntoro ivanyi atin ana yekwandi akamakwa pwambo akuso mako biya mahera ya nanu ta hera ya nanu pe o chie kompe mfululo dime adi onda hinane medi jabe mi kwallo fraya minya ikoman ha chalidon atimma veruko.
Nathaniel walks through the plot of land while she claims her husband was singled out from the other captives for no other reason than being hairy. For this, she says ULIMO soldiers chose a hair-raising way to torture him.
Mema kwano mendama o nyoni mako jim pokiyo do wondu na olebo na su yimike e chempena no na ayavando na mitwalen.
Nathaniel and her 14-year children watched her husband, their father, suffer an excruciating death on this spot. She blames the ULIMO top commander.
Alieu Kosiah ndudimo pwani adi ponono ma wondo mi mangulane.
Alieu Kosiah's ULIMO drove out Charles Taylor's MPF here, the National Patriotic Front of Liberia, in June 1993 and made Foya the stronghold until 1996. Kosiah had a reputation for barbaric acts, including mass killings, mutilations, cannibalism, and sexual violence. Nathaniel survived, but carries the burden of being without a husband.
Pomea yang masondo kumbi milwe.
Tewa Tama has felt the same pain. Tama shows the house where Commander Kosiah used to sleep and the bench where he would sit and order killings. One day, his soldiers lined up people here in front of the house. Tama recalls they started killing the men in long line for their alleged support to Charles Taylor and then turned to the women.
So the boy just came outside. He took my sister with knife. He was having baby. They bring it all, they put it down. He fall now. Here they came my sister.
Tama points to the spot on the road where she watched her sister Kuma stabbed in cold blood while holding her infant son on her back. The baby fell crying to the ground. Tama could not scream or cry. She had to stay alive to raise her sister's baby boy.
Kosiah get the order and say, y'all go, y'all be checking to the hospital. Anyone you're here crying, you're going to kill the person. So what you're inside the room or you're falling, nobody will not crying. Because they say, anyone when you cry, they could kill you.
Reverend John Tama is the principal of the Free Pentecostal High School. During Kosiah's rule, he was in his 20s and also a scared son.
It was during General Kosiah's command in Foya that my mother, called Nesi Kumachebendo of Sandel, was slaughtered in 3 pieces. Cut her throat, cut her waist, and the pieces were there. And we left the bush and we came, we had to dig a grave to bury her. It was during General Kosiah's command.
Reverend Tama remembers many massacres under Kosiah's command.
We had over 7 young men that were killed at the time when General Kosiah was here as commander. They were captured, brought to Foya in the open broad day. They were butchered, and their flesh were placed in wheelbarrow and were sold from one community to another. And you dare not say no from buying their flesh or the meat. They will have you killed and have your flesh in the wheelbarrow.
This is where the infamous Black Monday massacre took place in Foya District, Lofa County 27 years ago. At least 150 people believed to be civilians were lined up on this road and murdered allegedly on the orders of Alieu Kosiah, then general of ULIMO railroad faction. Eyewitnesses say it was a windy day and that some of the civilians had their heads chopped off while others were shot at point-blank range.
Many people were not given proper burial because there are no material used to dig even the soil or the ground to bury them.
MOHAMMED KEITA was the zonal chief for dead body affairs for ULIMO, a job given to him because he was popular and from the Manigo chapter Kosiah. KEITA takes us on the tour of a banana bush where he oversaw the dumping of dead bodies in mass graves by ULIMO soldiers. This Palava hut stands at the site of a massacre and mass burial ground. The hut was erected after the war in memorial of the lives lost under ULIMO. Kosiah will stand trial for war crimes in Switzerland at the Federal Criminal Court under the doctrine of universal jurisdiction. The doctrine allows a country to investigate and try nationals of other countries for alleged crimes of genocide, war crimes, crimes against humanity, torture, and forced disappearance.
I think his trial represents a step forward in the fight against impunity.
John Stewart is an ex-commissioner of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission (TRC), which recommended Kosiah for public sanctions for his alleged role during the First Liberian Civil War. ULIMO committed the fifth most atrocities according to the TRC.
The arrest of these individuals, especially those named in the TRC report as perpetrators, I think it validates our report.
Kosiah will be the second ex-ULIMO general to go on trial after Mohammed Jabate, known as Jungle Jabba. In September, the U.S. Court of Appeals in Philadelphia affirmed Jungle Jabba's 30-year prison sentence for lying to U.S. immigration authorities about his role during the First Liberian Civil War. Civitas Maximan and the Global Justice and Research Project strongly advocated for his prosecution and are doing the same for Kosiah.
This trial, the fact that it is very near, means that justice for the victims has come home.
HASSAN BILITY is the director of the Global Justice and Research Project. He praises the people of Foya for openly talking about the alleged atrocities they experienced at the hands of Kosiah and his troops.
They've braved the storms, they've challenged everything, they've refused to be subjected to fears by suspected war criminals, and they've stood up. And now most of the cases are coming out of Foya. And we want to also encourage other Liberians where most of these crimes were committed. I mean, other Liberians who reside in or who were victim of many of these crimes to stand up like Foya. Foya currently is a trailblazer.
Accounts of Kosiah's crimes are well known across Lofa County, particularly Foya. We found no one in the district to defend Kosiah as survivors call for the death penalty for him.
I want to pay there because he came my sister now. I feel that my sister was supposed to help me. And I don't get nobody working and helping that. Only my sister was helping me.
Mama, me ka chiamala da be mama la be. Dia me ka to say so pe ma chuando dio tenang. Nanu kanya ba bando dio pe ma dindo pe don o feeling. Po heke.
I believe in justice. Forgiveness is not without justice. In fact, forgiveness in itself is justice. You forgive someone who is genuinely sorry for what they did, and they are willing to confess and admit and say, I'm sorry for what I do, and they are willing to change. Such a person should be forgiven, but not one who kills, escapes, and is living luxuriously, and then other families are negatively affected. Such a person should be brought to book, and justice should take its course.
Stewart and BILITY have a different view.
I solely do respect the opinion of the victims, of the people from Foya, Lofa County. But unfortunately, I do not subscribe to the death penalty. If this guy is convicted, that's sufficient. So in this case, the court will make a determination what the punishment is.
Well, I think he should be held accountable. That is the main thing. As to whether he should have a life sentence or not, that will depend on the judges.
Whatever the Swiss court decides, Kosiah's trial will represent a significant push in Liberia's quest for justice for victims of its civil wars. The trial could also re-energize the country's efforts towards the establishment of a war crimes court to prosecute those who bear the greatest responsibility for the wars. This report was produced by Power TV in collaboration with New Narratives as part of his West Africa Justice Reporting Project. I'm Anthony Stevens reporting.